bulldog, just like me and just like this bulldog. Well, if me and Alyssa are both bulldogs, and we want you to come along with us. So, in this video, we're going to discuss all the important topics of social work, and hopefully, we convince you to come be a bulldog and come hang out in the library with us. And we're going to tell you what we learned this semester and what we did well with. So, first, going to talk about what we did well with. Personally, I did well with asking questions because I am very interested in the field of social work. So I asked a bunch of questions, and I also did well with taking breaks and realizing that school is kind of like a job, and I don't need to do it 100% of the time. So in the future, I'm definitely going to continue working on taking breaks with school and making sure that I'm treating it more like a job than a never-ending thing. So I don't do it all night. I just do it like 8 to 5 and the good days. All right, Alyssa, how would you do well with in school?
I think I did really well on just going to all my classes and making sure that I was taking good notes. I think I learned a lot this year about, like you said, how to take breaks, how to make a self-care plan and make sure that that's being followed.
We'll discuss the 6 core values of social work. Alyssa, what value do you think is most important out of the 6?
Well, I think that they're all very important, but I think the most important is competency because, well, competency means that you're not going to do something that you're not comfortable with. So if you're trained in substance abuse and somebody starts talking about their pregnancy, then you won't try to talk to them about their pregnancy because you're not informed. So the importance of competency is that you're not going to harm the client by giving them bad advice.
Oh, that's very good. One that I think is really important is dignity and worth of a human. I think this one's important because even if a human is incarcerated or has committed a serious felony, I still want to treat them like they are important and that their life matters.
Yeah, I think that one's really important too.
Okay, what's another one that you like?
I think another one that's really important is service. It's kind of the thing that is like encompasses everything that social workers do, that you want to be helping other people out and like kind of just doing anything that you can to give them what they need.
Yeah, I kind of go along with that. I like integrity. Integrity is when you don't lie to your clients and that your clients know that you're the same person in the office as the person that's out of the office. Just being a good person overall.
Yeah, definitely. Social justice is another one that you can't forget because you want to make sure that like everybody is getting the same opportunities and that people aren't being treated unfairly, and we as social workers advocate for that.
Yeah, and one I really like also is just importance of human relationships because human relationships are so important because they enhance the quality of life. Without having relationships with other people, people often struggle with depression and some mental disorders when they are isolated and they don't have much human contact. So I want to make sure that I am focused on my clients and just giving them all of the attention that they deserve.
The reason that these 6 core values are needed and the reason that we need to remember them is because we have a lot of responsibilities as a social worker. The first is the responsibility to the client.
This means when a client comes in, all of the stuff that's said in the meeting will be kept confidential, and we will not say any questions that violate her privacy. We will not look into her purse or anything, her bag, because that would also violate her privacy.
The next is responsibility to colleagues.
This means all of our colleagues, we are going to respect them.
Next, we have responsibility in the practice settings.
In our practice setting, we should always be competent and fair.
And we have responsibilities as professionals.
As professionals, we are not going to discriminate.
And lastly, we have responsibility to the social work profession itself.
This profession is all about lifelong learning, so we will always be a student. So when our clients come in to see us, we try to follow a plan. This plan is called the plan change model. We first start with engagement.
So when we try to engage with a client, we try to just find out who they are, make it so that they feel comfortable with us, and kind of treat them like a friend, get to know them.
And then we assess them.
So this is when we really dig in and start asking them a bunch of questions to find out what they're here for, what they want to get out of the meeting.
Then we start the planning.
So when we create a plan, we take their biggest obstacles and we break them into steps. So how can we conquer this issue that we're having, and then we make a plan that they are going to try to use.
We implement.
So that's when the client goes home and they start following these steps and trying to reach these goals that we've made for them. Well, that we've made together.
We do evaluation.
So after the plan has been in place for a little while, we go and ask the client how it's been working for them and change what needs to be changed.
Then we have termination.
So that is when the plan worked, the client is feeling confident, we're feeling confident that this relationship doesn't need to happen anymore. We either end services or we transfer them to somebody else.
Then we have follow-up.
So after the client has been terminated, we will do a follow-up meeting just to make sure that they are still doing okay.
Social worker, we have many different roles to fill. The first one is a broker. This is finding the best resources for our clients.
The next is a case manager. The case manager identifies the needs and the barriers that the client has and then helps create a plan and helps the client see the plan through.
Now, a mediator is when there's a conflict between two different people and the counselor takes a neutral stance and helps the two parties come together.
And then we also are educators, counselors, risk assessors, researchers, group leaders, and many others.
A social worker or a counselor does not have to fill as many roles because they can refer out to different sources. For example, if a client was struggling with an eating disorder, the counselor or social worker could refer to a specialist that specializes in eating disorders.
However, in a rural setting, which is like a smaller town or like country, then there aren't as many services. So if somebody had an eating disorder, and even though you aren't specialized in that, you would have to just do more research to learn how to treat that because there wouldn't be a specialist to refer out to. So you have to do more work. Social workers work in many different settings. The first setting is called micro. Micro settings is working directly with either an individual or a couple or maybe small families.
The second one is meso. This is when the social worker works in communities or large groups. This can be direct or indirect.
Lastly, the last one is macro. And macro is working with things such as government policies. This is indirect because you're not actually working with anybody, but you're working for clients to try to get policies changed for. So the next thing that we need to talk about that's very important is intimate partner violence. So violence can be either physical, which means they're actually hitting, kicking, biting, actually hurting your body or restraining, anything like that. Psychological, which is what most people think of as mental abuse. It can be cutting them down. It can be making them feel like they're crazy. It could be multiple things that kind of just mess with a person's thinking. And then sexual abuse is any unwanted sexual contact.
There is a cycle that abuse normally goes in. The first part is tension building. Tension building section means that there's a disagreement between the couple that builds tension. The second part is abuse acute abuse. This could be physical abuse, psychological abuse, or sexual abuse, but this is when the relationship is mostly unsafe. The third phase is the honeymoon phase. This is when they apologize and everything's okay. These phases don't always last the same amount. They're all different, and every relationship is also different.
One thing that's really important to understand about intimate partner violence is that it's not that the victim of the violence enjoys it or wants to be there. Oftentimes they don't have a way to get out because their partner is the only one with a job, or they have children and they don't want the children to be taken away from them, or maybe nobody will believe them. There can be a lot of different reasons, and a lot of the times people cling on to the honeymoon stage and they think that the tension building stage and the acute abuse stage is just not really their partner, and that the partner still loves them and all that stuff. So they don't really feel that they have an escape, and they can think that their abuser still loves them deep down. So another really fun thing that we did in this class is that we got to have a panel, and we got to listen to them discuss what populations that they've worked with and kind of find out about different jobs that we can go into. And I personally thought that a lot of them sounded really interesting, but I'm still not sure what kind of population that I want to work with as a social worker. Last year I was in education, elementary education. I thought I wanted to work with children. Now I'm not so sure, but one population that does interest me is working with the deaf and hard of hearing, because I think that it's interesting that they have such a different culture, and it's important for them to have social workers that know their culture and their language and can work with them. What about you, Stephanie?
So this semester I volunteered at Evergreen, which is a assisted living home for the elderly. And I really enjoyed working with the older population and the aging population. So my internship this summer, I'm going to try to work for a hospice, a company that's working with hospice or is doing hospice services, because I want to experience what it's like to work with the aging population and also the deaf and dying population. I also want to work with people that are in the hospital and are sick. So I want to work with the deaf and dying population and people that are sick or mentally ill.
For watching. I hope you learned something new about the social work program.
And if you enjoyed it and you want to join, go ahead and apply at ferris.edu. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.